Ooh.
Ian,
Yeah?
put down the lightsaber. You know what happened last time you were playing in here with a sword, right?
But Zoe, I was told by Aoife to activate Order 66, which basically means I need to hunt down and kill all the last remaining Jedi in the galaxy.
No. Aoife said find 66 bits of information about this new footage from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order that we've just got. Come on, Ian.
Oh, well, it's kind of lucky you came along then, because I've already killed 3 Padawan. Whoops, awkward.
Welcome to the planet Zepho, one of the new locations created especially for Fallen Order. As you can see here from our pal Cal Kestis's balancing act, it's not exactly the safest of places to be. Its crumbling pathways are covered with debris from when the planet was occupied by the Empire, and its mountains are full of old ruins and crypts that are ripe for exploration and danger. These mutated rat-looking mothers fighting over the body of a dead stormtrooper are called Skazes, and they're native to the planet Zepho. You'll run into a lot of them in the game, and you'll often see them trying to snack on the Empire's weaker troops.
Don't look friendly.
There may not be any dismemberment of humans in Fallen Order, but as you can see here, Disney has no qualms whatsoever with you slicing a Skaz right down the middle. The poor little bugger. See that shaft of light over there in the distance? That is a meditation point, which acts almost like bonfires in Dark Souls. Get Cal to meditate in one of these and it'll create a spawn point for when you die. Not only that, but you'll also be able to use them to refill your healing items and assign any new skill points that you may have earned. In another Dark Souls-esque inspired gameplay element, XP you've earned from defeating enemies can be used to buy new moves, like lightsaber throws. But if you don't spend it regularly at meditation points, you run the risk of losing it all when you die. To get that XP back, you'll need to kill the enemy what got you, and when you do that, your health bar will also be restored, which will give you a nice little boost if you're struggling with that fight. Poor old Cal Kestis. He's well and truly outnumbered here. Good job he's got a lightsaber on him so he can deflect all those blaster bolts, eh? Trouble is, he can only deflect so many, and as soon as the block meter, that little grey bar above your force meter, runs out, Cal will run out of stamina and boom! Blaster bolt to his jutting Jedi jawline. By the way, that red dot you can see on the Stormtrooper's torso signifies that Cal is locked onto him. It's not that exciting, but it will help you quickly tell which foe you're fighting if you're ever in one big bust-up.
It's just me then.
Using the Force like this to freeze a blaster bolt in mid-air and then send it back at the person who fired it will never not be awesome. The mountainous paths of Zepho are full of environmental hazards, but some of them, like this sheet of ice here, can occasionally be used to your advantage. Here Cal gets his slide on to avoid a pack of stormtroopers. Just be careful not to slide off the edge, because I'm not sure Cal has mastered Force Float yet. A lot of the environmental navigation in Fallen Order takes its cues from games like Tomb Raider or the Uncharted series, but whereas Lara and Nate had to rely on their wit to progress, here Cal is able to use Force Slow to open up a safe route past this water wheel.
Stay on him.
These poor old scout troopers are about to get into a bit of trouble because even though they're armed with some pretty nifty stun batons, Cal Kestis has been trained in the art of the parry. By parrying that first attack, Cal is able to momentarily stun the scout before booting him in the chest and finishing him off with a big swing of his saber.
Up now.
Parrying actually plays a very large role in this game though. As you can see here, correctly timed blocks can also open up enemies to a cinematic finisher move. Force Push is of course in this game, although as you can see here, it'll probably work a little bit better if your enemies are stood next to a sheer drop.
Stay on you.
This little healing animation is really cool. I love how when Cal clicks his fingers, BD1 ejects some Bacta, which Cal then catches and injects. Your meds are shown on the bottom left of the screen, by the way, just next to the health bar, so you'll easily be able to tell how many you have left. While there is no human dismemberment in the game, your lightsaber will leave cool scorch marks on your foes, which sizzle away on the exact locations that you cut them.
You won't get far.
At the culmination of this scuffle, Cal will unlock a skill point, which you can then use at meditation points to unlock the branches of his skill tree. There are 3 branches to this tree: Force, Lightsaber and Survivability, and each skill point allows an upgrade in one of these 3 areas. During the game, Cal and BD1 can also acquire specific skills which unlock pathways through planets and levels. As you can see here, they've just unlocked a shortcut, which should help with the Metroidvania elements of the game. That lanky lump of aluminum there is an Imperial security droid. You might remember its design from Rogue One, in which a reprogrammed ISD called K2SO stole the show. Unfortunately though, this one isn't anywhere near as funny or friendly. Whilst blocking and parrying is a big part of this game, it doesn't necessarily work out in every situation. Sometimes, like right here, enemies will glow red when they're about to launch an unblockable attack. So, unless you really want a face full of fist-shaped metal like Cal's getting here, a dodge is highly recommended. Throwing sabres is a great way to soften up targets from a distance. It does reduce your force bar a bit, which is that blue bar at the bottom of the screen, but every successful block or attack will refill this bar slightly. Listen out for some signature dry Star Wars mech humour here, as the ISD gives Cal some sick burns as it lays the smackdown.
Mortality probable. Sudden movement unforeseen.
And here's some more non-human dismemberment for all you dismemberment fans out there. In this cinematic finisher, Cal first removes the ISD's leg, then goes to town on its torso. Now who's on the receiving end of some sick burns, eh? There's even more force-based platforming here, as Cal uses force slow to make these giant cogs spin at a more manageable speed. This, however, links straight into some wall running, and it gives us a good idea as to how platforming elements will combine to allow players to flow through the environments as they learn more skills.
No retreating, stay on him!
As you can see here, force push will affect multiple enemies if they're standing in a line, even ones that are quite far away. This could be leveraged to pull off some multi-kills if you can get your foes lined up along a precarious position. This fancy bit of footwork is some kind of force skill. I'm not 100% sure what it's called, but it reduced the force meter by about the same percentage as the force push did, so it's not something you'll be able to spam during a battle.
I want to die here!
Now seems like a good time to talk about Cal's blue lightsaber. There's a lot of exploration in this game, and if you look hard enough, you'll be able to find many things, including lightsaber parts. You can find different colours for the blade, different hilts, and other components that will alter your saber's overall design. So keep your eyes peeled if you want to turn your laser sword into a laser sword. Here's some more force platforming for you. This one kind of reminds me of the ice slide level of Super Mario 64, just with fewer penguins and more bone-crushing machinery to avoid. Rockets! Rockets are great, as long as they're not being fired at you, and in this case, this one isn't. It's instead being shot at that Skaz in a really bad attempt to save that scout trooper. Has that stormtrooper never heard of splash damage before? Jeez. Here Cal lets the stormtroopers and the Skaz fight it out before jumping in to mop up the survivors with some cool force moves. Now, the footage cuts off just before we meet whatever this horse-goat-looking creature is, but I'm going to hazard a guess that this is another native creature to Zepho known as the Phylak, which has 3 sharp horns and enjoys ramming wandering Jedi. Now, I have no idea what this great big ball bag of a beast is called, but it's got one hell of a left hook. It is pretty slow though, but it does seem to be able to pull off lots of unblockable attacks, something that Cal is able to avoid here with another nifty force move. It looks to me here like using force slow on bigger enemies uses way more force power than it does on smaller ones, because as you can see, using it on this beast just removed more than 50% of the force bar. Okay, now this is cool. Cal has weakened this beast enough to perform a finisher on it, which starts with an arm dismemberment and ends with a reverse stab right into its junk. Kinda cruel though, don't you think, Cal? Perhaps he's going to turn dark side after all. Ooh, thanks to Wikipedia, I do know the name for this next enemy. This towering droid is called a Tomb Guardian, and it's part of a group that's charged with protecting the ancient sacred crypts known as Zephonian temples on the planet Zepho, which I presume is what Cal is inside right now. This is pretty cool. As the Tomb Guardian here charges up a big attack, Cal uses a force push to disrupt its core, forcing the energy ball outside of the Tomb Guardian and causing it to be stunned and drop to its knees. This excellent dodge here doesn't use up stamina or force power. It does increase Cal's cool points though, so remember to use it often in a battle. Yet more dismemberment of non-human enemies here with this finisher move. I guess it's a nice compromise from Disney. Not enough bloody gore to push the game into a higher age rating, but still enough delimbing to keep all those old school Obi-Wan fans happy. Oh boy, going toe-to-toe with an AT-ST in this game looks cool AF. It's got a multitude of ranged attacks, which Cal deflects back at it using the Force, but obviously, once he's drained that Force bar, he's going to need to resort to some good old dodging in order to survive. No idea what that ship in the background is called, by the way, but you can see Cal walking out of it in the recent Cal's Mission trailer. So it's a safe bet that this is his primary means of getting from planet to planet within the game. That AT-ST won't be able to bombard you with laser fire, by the way. Its front-mounted twin cannons overheat quite quickly, and this telltale red glow on the barrels will give Cal a bit of breathing room and allow him to use force push to finish it off. Not the most merciful of actions there, Cal. I'm not 100% sure what would have happened here if Cal hadn't immediately grabbed that Imperial Army pilot, but I'd like to think you'd have had the option of letting him live if they'd have decided not to attack. Here's a good old look at BD1's local map hologram. As you can see, thanks to the handy legend, the yellow areas are exits to unexplored parts of the game world, whilst the red door is a blocked route that will probably be opened sometime later in the game. using a lightsaber as a torch. It's simple but effective, and it's a nice way to light this dingy tunnel as Cal tries his best not to fall down holes. This rock face crumbles quite easily when Cal uses force push against it, but this is one of many routes that cannot be opened until Cal has unlocked a specific skill in his skill tree. Find one of these that you can't break open, come back later when you've increased your Jedi powers, and it should open up new routes for you. This next section is an even better look at how you can flow through the environment. It starts with a big slide, flows into a big jump and punch thing, and then ends with some classic respawn wall running and some Tomb Raider-y rope swinging. Smooth.
Break's over. Sit fast. I'll get you. Don't scare me.
Here's a little glimpse at just how coordinated Cal is. Not only is he balancing on those broken pipes, but he's also deflecting rapid blaster fire. It looks very cool, but keep an eye on that stamina bar, because running out of that while you're mid-chasm is going to end in tears. And a long drop. And then, most likely, death. For some reason, the footage cuts out here just as Cal scans the body of the fallen heavy assault trooper. You can scan all sorts of stuff in the game using your buddy BD1, and each bit of info goes into your tactical guide for perusal at a later date. There's more extended platforming sections coming up for you now, so watch out for the stomach-lurching jump from the bottom of a pipe to the underneath of it, and some very measured and well-timed uses of force slow to scale the side of a mountain. I've got no idea what's in these Zephonian temple ruins, but it certainly looks like Respawn is going to be digging into some old Jedi lore for this game. Perhaps there are some long-lost Jedi artifacts hidden in here, or at least some cool collectibles that will expand on the universe.
See that? Ugh.
According to BD1's scan, these vibrato plants are called Scum Gas. Chances of them exploding on contact are high, but as you can see on the top of the screen, the player was awarded some XP here for discovering it. So it's nice to see that you can earn XP for exploration as well as combat. Aerial assassination activated. We're in for some more standard Skaz attacks here, although this scuffle also shows that the little critters can sink their teeth into you, initiating a quick time event in order for you to slip from their grasp. Look at that hole. Now look at that big red angry ball. Yep, you've guessed it. You've got to get that ball into that hole in one of Fallen Order's more Tomb Raider-like moments. Looks like you can't resort to force push here either. Instead, it looks like you'll need to find the right combination of Guff directions from these handy wind holes. Guff. Just a subtle thing here, but I do like the way the camera pulls out at moments like this to show you the full majesty of the area that you're exploring. Uh-oh, it's the revenge of the Guffs in this section. As Cal tries to jump this gap, the powerful winds nearly knock him off course. But thankfully, alongside his Jedi skills, he also has mantling skills, which stop him from plummeting to his doom. Good work, strong hands. Oh, wait, turns out the Scum Gas does explode on contact. Causes a nice little chain reaction though, so I wonder if there'll be points where we can use this against enemies. Surprise! The Scum Gas among us will return us after a very short time. Time for some good Guffs now, as Cal uses this wind hole to not only blow away the Scum Gas that's blocking his path, but also as a nice extra boost to carry him over this incredibly large gap and into a new passageway. Nice jump. He made that look like a breeze. We're out of the Zephonian temples now, and even out of the planet Zepho, because if the giant trees haven't given it away already, this next section is set on the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk. Cal totally ignored it then, but that is a close-up of one of the meditation points that I mentioned right at the start of this video. It's risky business avoiding those, that's for sure, because you're basically avoiding a save point, so don't get cocky, kid. Cal has levelled up his platforming skills here and can now do a double jump, which enables him to flow between wall runs without losing speed. This looks pretty tricky to be honest, and I'm probably going to fall off this section a lot. Lol, bounce flowers. That's a bit dumb. Now, it does feel like a lot of this game involves platforming. I hope there's a nice balance here between that, the puzzling, and the combat, because I could happily skip these bits and just play with the lightsabers a bit more.
The pain! More!
Okay, this is more like it. This duel with a purged trooper is all sorts of cool, from the trooper's awesome armour and cruel mid-fight put-downs through to the final execution. This is the Star Wars game that I want to play. Purge troopers, if you didn't know, were created specifically for this game, and they're expendable death squads who are programmed to obey Order 66 and hunt down all remaining Jedi. Which is why this one has a little bit of a bee in its bonnet about Cal.
Give me a fight! I'm going to destroy you! Push harder!
This final fight of the footage is definitely the most impressive, because Cal is up against the Ninth Sister, a female Dowutin who served as an Inquisitor back in the early days of the Galactic Empire's reign. She's huge, angry, and even has force powers, so she's going to be a very tough boss to beat indeed. The final point here is about the Ninth Sister's lightsaber. It's a specially designed lightsaber used specifically by the Inquisitors, and it's actually a double-ended spinning lightsaber, which makes it especially lethal.
Oh, that was a massive list. Blimey. Anyway, Zoe, how old exactly were you when the first Star Wars movie came out?
Ian, that film came out 16 years before I was born.
No! That's not true! That's impossible!
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
No! No! Oh my god, no! This is the wrong time to realise I'm scared of heights! No! I'm really far down. No! I went through it. I've hit my leg on the side.
Amazing.
Wow, this is really far. Okay, that.